It is a land shrouded in secrecy, a nation where time seems to stand still. North Korea, a country that evokes fear, intrigue, and fascination. Beyond the towering monuments and propaganda-filled squares lies a hidden world, rarely glimpsed by outsiders. Today, we peel back the curtain on one of the most secretive regimes in history to uncover facts you didn't know. Daily life in North Korea is marked by extreme government control, with authorities dictating nearly every aspect of citizens' lives. The government decides where people live, their occupations, and even what they study. Personal choices, such as clothing, hairstyles, and entertainment, are heavily regulated. Phones reportedly take random screenshots, which are sent to the government to monitor user activity. Life in such an environment can feel stifling and oppressive. For a crime committed by any person, even his grandchildren might be punished. The law of guilt by association. Even the members of a family distrust each other. They can't talk to their siblings, parents, or children without fear. Welcome back to Diverse Drive. North Korea, with a population of about 25 million, is situated above South Korea on the world map, bordered by the vast nation of China to the west. A striking feature emerges when viewing satellite imagery of the region at night. While China and South Korea are brightly illuminated, North Korea appears as a void of darkness. Officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the name ironically includes democratic, despite the nation's lack of democratic governance. In North Korea, limited electricity restricts daily life. People cannot read or watch TV at night, and often go to bed as early as 7 p.m., accustomed to living in near constant darkness. Imagine living every day in silence, knowing that a single word out of place could mean a one-way trip to a labor camp. For many North Koreans, this is not fiction, it is their reality. North Korea was not always in its current state of hardship. At one time, it was more prosperous than South Korea. In 1980, North Korea's per capita GDP surpassed that of both India and China. Citizens enjoyed benefits such as free healthcare, education, housing, heating, and transportation. The country's GDP by an average of 4.5% annually. However, the situation deteriorated in the 1990s following the collapse of the Soviet Union, which marked the beginning of significant economic challenges. In 1995, North Korea experienced a devastating famine that even impacted the local frog population as desperate citizens hunted them for survival. Lasting from 1995 to 1998, this famine is regarded as one of the worst man-made disasters in history. Although the government never disclosed the exact number of casualties, it is estimated that between 500,000 and 2 million people lost their lives to starvation. Yet the regime continues to allocate vast resources to its military and nuclear programs. The regime's priorities are clear. Survival of the state comes before survival of its people. North Korea's economy suffered a severe collapse after the Soviet Union dissolved, as it lost access to cheap oil and food previously supplied by the USSR. Power stations shut down, electricity became scarce, and widespread starvation began. The United States offered aid on the condition that North Korea abandon its nuclear weapons program, but the government refused. As a result, the US and other nations isolated the country. In August 1995, devastating floods struck North Korea, and with no cash or credit to support recovery efforts, the situation deteriorated further, worsening with each passing year. In rural North Korea, many people starved to death due to the country's tightly controlled totalitarian dictatorship. The roots of this system trace back to the aftermath of World War II. After the Allied victory over Japan and Germany, Japan's occupation of the Korean peninsula ended and the peninsula was divided. North Korea came under the Soviet Union's influence, while South Korea aligned with the United States. A similar division occurred in Germany after the war, with East Germany under Soviet influence and West Germany aligned with the US. Following the Soviet model, North Korea adopted communist ideologies and became a one-party state. Kim Sung, a guerrilla leader who had fought against Japan, emerged as the country's first supreme leader, shaping its future as a totalitarian regime. Since the country's establishment, the Kim family has maintained control, with Kim Jong-un, the grandson of Kim Il-sung, currently serving as the supreme leader and dictator. However, this regime cannot be accurately described as a communist dictatorship, but rather as a family-led dictatorship dedicated to perpetuating the Kim family's rule. The government exerts immense control over every aspect of citizens' lives, dictating where people live, what jobs they hold, where they study, and even their daily activities. Every detail from the media they consume to their travel destinations and personal appearances, such as hairstyles, is strictly regulated. Education is free and mandatory up to high school, with attendance enforced under the threat of punishment. However, the quality of education is deeply lacking as schools fail to provide substantial learning reducing education to a form of state control rather than genuine academic development. Teachers only give attention to students after receiving bribes, leading wealthier families to hire private tutors for their children. Living in Pyongyang is considered a privilege, and attending prestigious institutions there is even more highly valued. After school, students' family background and the payment of bribes often determine their admission to college. Upon graduating, men are required to serve in the military, with mandatory service lasting up to 10 years. Although North Korea operates under a dictatorship, parliamentary elections are held every 5 years. However, only candidates from the ruling Workers' Party are allowed to contest for each seat. Anyone who votes against the approved candidate is labeled a traitor, and the secret police may arrest them, often declaring them insane. As a result, voter turnout is extremely high, with more than 99.9% participation. The government views these elections not as a democratic process, but as an unofficial census, using them to maintain control over the population. In North Korea, the government regulates almost every aspect of personal appearance, including clothing and hairstyles. There is a strict list of approved hairstyles, with only 15 options available for men and 15 for women. If a person wishes to get a haircut, they must choose from one of these government-approved styles. However, Kim Jong-un's signature haircut is not on the list, as no one else is permitted to have the same hairstyle as the dictator. Similarly, no one in the country is allowed to wear glasses like his. Moreover, personal appearance is heavily regulated by the government. Hair dyeing is prohibited, and people cannot wear certain types of clothing, such as blue jeans, ripped jeans, or skinny jeans, all of which are banned. Branded clothing is also forbidden, as it is seen as a symbol of Western influence. Women are not allowed to wear tight dresses, short skirts, or sun hats, and their clothing must not reflect Western fashion in any way. Red lipstick is banned, and makeup is restricted to minimal use, as anything more is considered a Western influence. To enforce these strict dress codes, North Korea has a fashion police responsible for ensuring that citizens adhere to these regulations. If someone violates these strict dress codes, they must face the consequences imposed by the fashion police. This group monitors citizens covertly and enforces the rules by cutting people's clothes or imposing fines. In some cases, individuals can even be imprisoned for breaking the regulations. The North Korean government is deeply focused on controlling personal appearance because it views fashion as a form of cultural invasion. Authorities believe that the adoption of Western capitalist styles poses a threat to the country's ideological purity. They fear that if citizens begin to embrace foreign trends, they may lose their loyalty to North Korea and its values. To emphasize the importance of this issue, the government even produced a propaganda series in 2005 that focused specifically on promoting government-approved hairstyles, underscoring the seriousness with which it regards cultural control. This propaganda series claimed that having long hair is unhealthy and it reduces a person's intelligence. In North Korea, development of new products and services for the common citizens is next to none. Another key aspect of North Korea's totalitarian system is the strict control over people's movement. Domestic travel within the country is heavily restricted, and individuals must obtain government permission and provide a justification for traveling from one region to another. International travel is even more tightly controlled. Citizens are not allowed to leave the country without explicit government approval. Attempting to travel abroad without permission is viewed as a traitorous act. In such cases, the government punishes not only the individual involved, but often their entire family, subjecting them to forced labor, torture, life imprisonment, or even execution. This extreme punishment is meant to deter any attempts to escape or challenge the regime's authority. In North Korea, entertainment is strictly controlled to reinforce the government's propaganda. Foreign movies are not allowed, and only government-approved channels are available on TV and radio. The programming is designed to support the regime's narrative, with the morning broadcasts starting with the national anthem and tributes to North Korea's former leaders. Content includes cartoons and news programs that praise the ruling regime, with Kim Jong-un depicted as a divine figure, the central focus of all media. This extensive control over entertainment is part of the government's effort to shape public perception and maintain loyalty to the regime. In North Korea, watching foreign shows and movies is considered a serious crime, and those caught doing so face harsh punishments. In 2022, 2 teenagers were sentenced to 12 years of hard labor for watching and distributing a South Korean drama. This illustrates the severity of the consequences for something as simple as a child wanting to watch a foreign movie. In another case from 2022, a young man was publicly executed for watching and sharing South Korean films and music. Such extreme punishments underscore the regime's strict control over media and its intense efforts to prevent foreign influences from reaching its citizens. Due to the severe lack of entertainment in North Korea, many people secretly smuggle South Korean dramas and movies. These films can be found on the local black market, with DVDs once being the primary medium for distribution. To watch these shows, individuals would often buy old Chinese DVD players. To catch those watching banned content, the government would randomly cut off electricity, which would cause the DVD to get stuck in the player, making it impossible to remove. Authorities would then use this as an opportunity to enter homes in the dark, forcibly open DVD players, and check for illegal media. Over time, people began using USB sticks, which are much easier to conceal, allowing them to continue watching foreign content despite the government's efforts to prevent it. Although North Koreans have limited access to the internet, many find ways to watch smuggled movies and TV shows on their computers or Chinese video players with USB ports. To avoid detection, they turn off the lights and close the windows, watching these programs at a barely audible volume, ensuring that neighbors cannot see or hear what they are doing. The internet in North Korea is extremely restricted. To access it, citizens must first obtain government permission. Even then, a librarian is stationed between every 2 users to monitor their online activity. The computer screen freezes every 5 minutes, and to continue browsing, the librarian's fingerprint is required. Internet access is limited to just 1 hour, and if users need more time, they must seek permission again. For most North Koreans, the government has created an internal network similar to an intranet, which they can access through their phones and computers. This system is highly controlled, with the government selecting the few websites available. The intranet is expensive to use, making it inaccessible to the majority of the population. The smartphones sold in that country are subject to extreme censorship. International calls cannot be made using these devices, and at random intervals the operating system takes screenshots of the phone's activity. These screenshots are sent to the government, allowing them to monitor exactly what users are doing. Additionally, the software is designed to display only government-approved content. There isn't even an online app store for downloading approved apps. People must visit physical stores for that. Imagine how stifling and oppressive life must feel for the people living under such conditions. North Korea is officially an atheist state, where practicing or preaching any religion is strictly forbidden and punishable by death. Christians, in particular, face severe persecution, as they are viewed as being influenced by America. Thousands of Christians are imprisoned in political camps, where they endure brutal torture. In 2009, Ri Hyun-ok, a woman accused of distributing Bibles, was publicly executed. Following her execution, her husband and 3 children were sent to a political prison camp. In North Korea, the Kim family has essentially been elevated to the status of a de facto religion. In North Korea, the first supreme leader, Kim Il-sung, and the second supreme leader, Kim Jong-il, are revered and worshipped almost like deities. Their images and statues are omnipresent, displayed in every home, office, school, and public space. No matter where you go, it feels as if the presence of these leaders looms over you. The secret police routinely inspect homes to ensure these portraits are displayed. If the pictures are absent or not treated with the required reverence, individuals can face prosecution. Citizens are expected to prioritize the protection of these images, even at the cost of their own lives. Failure to do so can result in severe consequences. In North Korea, the economic conditions for ordinary people are dire. An alarming 69% of the population lives in such poverty that they cannot afford basic necessities like 2 meals a day, clean water, education, or medical care. A major factor contributing to this hardship is that most men are required to take government-assigned jobs. However, their salaries remain frozen at rates set before the 1990s. Shockingly, this equates to only enough money to buy about 7 to 9 kg of corn per month. Women often become the primary breadwinners in most households. Married women are not obligated to take government-assigned jobs, allowing them to work in local markets to support their families. Women now account for over 70% of household income in North Korea. Black markets began to emerge as people sought ways to earn money and feed their families. These markets became lifelines for survival, where individuals sold goods and used the proceeds to stave off hunger. In their struggle to survive, People resorted to any means necessary to earn a living and keep their families alive. Over time, black markets in North Korea, known as Jangmadang, have become well established. These markets offer everything from food and medicine to banned USB drives containing South Korean films. They have evolved into the primary source of household income, particularly for women, as most men are occupied with low-paying, government-assigned jobs. Jangmadang markets also serve as informal hubs for information about the outside world. Here, people learn about the freedoms and better quality of life enjoyed in other countries, which stands in stark contrast to their own experiences. This exposure has led many North Koreans to become increasingly disillusioned with their country's leadership and system. North Korea's population is also divided into three distinct social classes based on political loyalty. At the top are the core class, made up of individuals considered the most loyal to the government. Next are the wavering class, people who are viewed with suspicion and uncertainty. Lastly, the hostile class includes those deemed enemies of the state. Most of those living in areas where Jangmadang thrives are from the core class, as they are generally afforded slightly better living conditions. People belonging to the hostile class in North Korea are not permitted within a 50-kilometer radius of certain cities. Those suspected by the government are often under constant surveillance, with even their family members acting as informants for the authorities. Similarly, citizens from the hostile class are coerced into spying on one another. This pervasive atmosphere of mistrust has eroded familial bonds, as people avoid confiding in their own family members, fearing that anyone could be a potential spy. This state-imposed suspicion and fear have created a society where trust is virtually non-existent, even within the closest relationships. Another major issue plaguing North Koreans is the widespread practice of forced labor, essentially a form of modern-day slavery. People are compelled to work in construction, farms, mines, and factories for grueling hours, often between 12 and 18 hours a day. This system of forced labor is so pervasive that it forms the backbone of North Korea's economy, as the regime diverts most of its resources toward weapon development. Much of this labor is carried out by individuals imprisoned in detention centers and political prison camps. North Korean laws mandate harsh physical labor for prisoners, and even those merely accused of crimes are often sentenced to years of forced labor. This relentless exploitation underscores the oppressive nature of the regime and the extreme hardship endured by its people. The North Korean government also exploits its citizens by sending them abroad for forced labor, treating them like modern-day slaves in countries such as Russia, China, Gulf nations, Poland, and parts of Africa. An estimated 100,000 North Koreans are subjected to this exploitation. The North Korean dictatorship has endured for over 75 years and remains firmly entrenched, with no clear end in sight for its oppressed citizens. Three key factors sustain this regime. The first being its sheer cruelty. Even minor mistakes are met with severe punishment, often including death. This relentless brutality has instilled an overwhelming fear among the population, forcing them to think twice before stepping out of line. This pervasive fear is reinforced by high-profile acts of violence, such as Kim Jong-un's execution of his own uncle. Such incidents serve as grim reminders of the regime's ruthlessness. Citizens are acutely aware that even the smallest act of perceived disobedience can result in their entire family being sent to political prison camps. This climate of terror ensures compliance and suppresses any thought of resistance. In North Korea, the regime uses relentless propaganda to control its citizens. The people are told that the rest of the world is plagued by corruption, diseases, and disasters, while North Korea is portrayed as a paradise where its citizens are the happiest and luckiest. Thanks to the great leadership of Kim Jong-un, this propaganda serves to brainwash the population, making them easier to manipulate and control. However, no dictatorship, no matter how powerful or fearsome, lasts forever. Even in North Korea, there are signs that Kim Jong-un's iron grip is beginning to weaken. These cracks in the regime's control offer a glimmer of hope that change may eventually come to the long-oppressed people of the country. The rise of small black markets run by women became a significant indicator. Over time, these markets expanded so quickly and became so essential to people's lives that nearly every North Korean began participating in them. Even the powerful North Korean government couldn't halt their growth and began to feel powerless. This prompted a major currency re-evaluation in 2009, as the government attempted to seize people's private wealth and tighten its control. However, this move ultimately proved to be a mistake. North Koreans are increasingly participating in these illegal activities together at the markets. And this has become a new way of building trust among people. The government's system of surveillance, which fosters suspicion and distrust even among family members, is failing as a result. Another factor weakening Kim Jong-un's control is corruption. People are no longer intimidated by the strict dictatorial rules imposed by the government because they realize that they can engage in illegal activities simply by paying bribes. We hope that in the next 10 to 20 years, we will hear positive news from North Korea about these changes. Every dictatorship, every dictator, ultimately sows the seeds of its own downfall in this way. Let this serve as a lesson for all of us, emphasizing the importance of freedom. Never turn against your fellow countrymen for any politician or political party. In any country or society, the unity of the people is the most crucial element. The second lesson here is to never surrender control over your life to any government authority. The way you dress, the food you eat, the hairstyle you choose, and the movies you watch should all be your personal decisions. No government should have the power to dictate what you can or cannot do. To understand North Korea is to confront its complexities, and perhaps, in doing so, we can imagine a future where the shadows give way to light. I hope this was informative for you. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more amazing facts around the world.